Hey, subscriber, Michelle here, and today I'm doing something new with my weekly email. I am coming to you through video, and although I may end up putting this on YouTube or at least creating something different from YouTube, today I am really just focusing on you, my subscriber, and I want to share something that I have been hearing in the streets in those classrooms over the last couple of months. So as I have been doing training in person and online with different schools, the one thing that continues to be shared with me, the question that continues to be asked throughout these times is, how do I keep my students from disrespecting one another? How do I keep that from happening? So today I want to share 4 steps that you can take that will help you reduce or stop the disrespect that happens between students in your classroom. All right, so I want to start off by saying that I really had a struggle myself in my early classroom years with students talking to each other inappropriately, cursing each other out, name calling, putting them down, basically just really creating an unsafe space to be successful in the classroom, an unsafe space to be yourself, an unsafe space to me to learn, at least emotionally, because of the different verbal jabs that they were giving each other in the classroom. And so I was stuck in this cycle of sit down, put this here, be quiet, stop calling each other names, don't do this, don't do that. And it worked for the moment. It may have even worked for the week. But after a couple of weeks, it would go right back to where it started. And so that's when I learned the value of this process. And so I was like, okay, no more. I want to change the culture in my classroom. I don't want any student to feel like they can't come to class and be respected or feel like they don't belong, at least not while they're in my classroom. And so this is the 4-step process I've used. This is the 4-step process I've been teaching. And let me just let you know, if you're looking for a real quick one and done, this is not the process for you. But if you're really looking for a way to change the game, to change the culture, to change the atmosphere in your classroom amongst students, this will work. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is create boundaries. So before you even talk to your class, before you even bring anything up, get alone, get by yourself, or you can actually do it with a team and create boundaries. Create what are the boundaries that are acceptable for your classroom, meaning what can students do and what can they not do for there to be a positive, safe environment for your students. What can they do? So for example, they cannot, because that's the easiest one to start with, they cannot call each other names, they cannot curse at one another, and they cannot do put downs. So in my classrooms, it was no, we don't do put downs, we don't do name calling, we don't curse at each other. That is not what we do here. So that was set early on with my students. But then you have to look at, well, if they can't do the following things, and a lot of times we're really talking about 3 to 5 things. Sometimes there's more. Start to look at what can they do. And I know this is a struggle for some teachers because it's like, what do you mean? But guess what? Your students are saying the same thing. What do you mean? Right? So what can they do? Well, if they can't name call, what can they do? Call them by their name, call each other by their name. If they can't put down, what can they do? Encourage one another. If they can't curse at one another, they can express their feelings, okay? And so that all of that is a skill set. That doesn't come naturally to many of our students. Some of them have a frame of reference based on their home or their community or whoever has been around them outside, but a lot of our students don't have that skill set. So it's very important that we understand that we are the ones that are going to be teaching it. And I know you say, I only came in here to teach math or social studies or history, but that's not where we are, at least in this society. So I'm giving you an opportunity to mourn that. If you want to have a different culture in your classroom, you're going to have to teach it. Now, some of you may have support in your classroom, whether it's through therapists or your guidance counselor who can work with you right? But they're one person for a lot of students. So a lot of it's going to fall on you. The next step, once you've decided, okay, these are the boundaries, right? You're going to then create or teach replacement behaviors. So we'll look at what they can do and say, okay, that's a replacement behavior. So to be a student who encourages another student, for some students, that's brand new. They didn't come from a place of encouragement. They didn't come from a place of positivity. If you look at what they feed themselves, i.e. social media, that is often not a positive place. The news is often not a positive place. And so you are going to have to say, okay, this is a replacement behavior that my students will need to learn. And I'm talking about kindergarten through high school. I know so many times teachers are like, well, can you give me something for secondary? Can you give me something for elementary? This skill set applies to all grade levels. The key though, when we're talking about different grade levels is how you deliver either the direction or the prompt, or how you deliver how they're going to do it, what it will look like in their setting. So that's really where the difference is. And fortunately, I do specialize in that as well. So I understand, but I just want you to understand the concepts remain the same. So start to look at what are some replacement behaviors that need to happen. So calling students by their name only. For some, it sounds silly, but it's a replacement behavior. Expressing your feelings instead of saying F you, man, excuse the language for those who are offended, saying, you know what, I don't like what you did, that's not cool. That's expressing feeling, right? Start to look at the three concepts I think about. What does it look like, sound like, feel like? And that's what you look at when you're teaching replacement behaviors. The next thing is you want to schedule opportunities for practice. Now, we practice our vocabulary, right? We have our students practice their vocabulary. We have them practice their math facts. But do we ever have them practice the replacement behaviors? One of my favorite quotes in a movie, I can't remember who the actor was, is that I understand the words. Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? They understand the word of be kind or be encouraging, or we don't do put downs, but they don't necessarily know how to do it. They don't know what that looks like, and they've never really done it. So it's going to feel really weird and wrong. And a lot of times that new behavior, that replacement behavior initially is going to feel weird and wrong. And there's going to be automatic resistance. That's why we do practice. That's why I create an opportunity to practice. And I will let my students know we're about to do this particular activity, but here's what I want you to practice. I want you to practice when you get frustrated, do this. Remember, we talked about that during class meeting. Remember, we talked about that yesterday on the anchor chart. And so that's what you do. You begin to look at what are some opportunities in the day, in the school week, that we can practice the replacement behaviors. And then the last step is to respond. Now, there's two ways to respond. You're either going to be correcting or you're going to be reinforcing. So now how you do it, that's where the creativity comes in. Sometimes that's where your budget comes in, and that's where your delivery comes in. But as the students are practicing the replacement behaviors, you either want to take a moment to correct that with respect, correct and respect, correct, respect, or you also want to reinforce it and speak about what a great job, speak about how they were able to do that, speak about how I saw you struggling, but I like how you followed through. And that feedback will help guide them to either increase the use of that replacement behavior or to decrease or stop using the replacement behavior at all. And so I don't want this to be too long because I know your time is so valuable, but really, if you are looking to stop the disrespect among students, this 4-step process, create boundaries, teach replacement, schedule opportunities for practice, and respond either in correction or reinforcement really will change the game. It really will make a huge dent in how our students communicate with one another. Now, I do have some resources. I know I have some on-demand workshops. One's called tame the talk. That's not really about respect per se, but it's how to reduce talking, unwanted talking. And then I also have another one, Double Trouble, and that talks about disrespect and disruption. It gives you a little bit more specific strategies, but I really just wanted to share that because I'm hearing from so many teachers, not just in person, but also in emails. Like, how do I get my students to stop arguing and fighting and name calling and all of these things? This is how you do it. So I hope today's video was helpful, and I will see you next time. Bye.